You know, we tend to think of history as something that happens in grand halls or on massive battlefields. But sometimes, the really pivotal moments, the ones that change everything, happen behind closed doors. They happen where the public and private lives of powerful people just collide. And we're about to dive into one of those forgotten moments right now.
So, this is the big question, isn't it? What really happens when a king's private life stops being private and becomes a public spectacle? That's the heart of our story today. It's about a king, a famous poet, and a secret that almost blew up the delicate balance between personal privacy and public duty, all in a country that was already on the edge of massive change.
Okay, so to really get what happened, we need to meet our two main players. Let's set the scene. We're in Denmark, smack in the middle of the 19th century. And believe me, this was a time of huge political and cultural shifts.
On one side, we've got King Frederik VII. Now, he's not some old powerful king from the old days. No, he's a monarch trying to navigate Denmark's big move to a constitutional monarchy. So you can imagine, every single thing he does is being watched. And that line between being a king and just being a man, well, it's getting really, really blurry.
And on the other side, we have NFS Grundtvig. And honestly, just calling him a poet is a massive understatement. This guy was a cultural powerhouse, a philosopher, a pastor, a historian, a politician, the whole shebang. His ideas were literally shaping what it meant to be Danish. So you've got these two incredibly influential figures moving in different worlds that are about to overlap in a big way.
And this is where their worlds finally slam into each other. It all kicks off with a private meeting, an audience with the king that was absolutely positively never meant to be talked about in public.
Just try to picture this scene, a quiet, intimate conversation with the king himself. I mean, these kinds of meetings were a huge deal. It was how you could get the monarch's ear directly. But the fact that this particular meeting was so secret, well, that's what lit the fuse for a total firestorm.
This quote really gets right to the heart of the whole debate that just exploded after the meeting. The whole conversation was about this Danish idea, hemmelighedsfuldhed, which basically means this intense, guarded secrecy. And it all boiled down to the one question that suddenly everyone was asking. Do public figures, whether they're ministers or even kings, actually have a right to a private life? Or does their job mean that every single part of their existence belongs to us, the public?
But just when this huge political and philosophical argument is really heating up, the story takes a sharp turn and gets deeply personal. A mysterious third person enters the scene and complicates, well, everything.
Yeah, suddenly, in the middle of all this political drama, something new appears, a long letter from a woman named Marie. The historical records say it was filled with things both sad and also very beautiful. And that one detail is a huge clue that this public crisis we're watching has a deeply personal, hidden, emotional story at its core. And this is the question that changes the whole game. Who was Marie? And what kind of secret did she put in that letter that was so powerful it could get tangled up in a national debate about the king's privacy and Grundtvig's politics? The big public drama all of a sudden has a very private, very human secret at its center.
Now here's where things get really interesting. This personal crisis, this secret, it connects directly to one of Grundtvig's most important philosophical ideas. It's almost as if his own life became the ultimate proof for his work.
If you look through his own writings, you find this chapter heading, Sandhedsvidner. Now, this isn't just a fancy title. It's a concept, and it's the key that helps us unlock this entire story. So, what is a truth witness? Well, it's somebody whose personal life, all their suffering, their struggles, their happiness, becomes a living, breathing testament to some bigger truth. This is the key to all of it. For Grundtvig, all the public criticism he was facing and the private pain hinted at in Marie's letter, those weren't just personal problems. No, for him, they were his philosophy in action. He was living as a truth witness. His own life was the proof of how complex and, yeah, how painful it can be when our private selves and our public duties smash into each other. So, how did this one secret meeting, made so much more complicated by a private letter, actually end up shaping history? Well, the answer is in the very tangled legacy it left behind.
The timeline really tells the story. In 1853, that secret meeting happens, and it just cracks open a huge national debate. Then the letter from Marie gets thrown into the mix, and it injects this secret passion and pain into the whole thing. And in the end, you just can't look back on King Frederik VII's reign or on NFS Grundtvig's philosophy without also remembering this deeply human, deeply private moment where their lives were tied together forever.
This whole story really leaves us with one last big question to think about. It kind of forces you to ask, how much of the history that we read about is just the surface story? How many of the world's great decisions, its philosophies, its big political changes, how many of those were actually decided not in parliaments or on battlefields, but by the secrets that were whispered in private rooms?